What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Cobra Kai Season 3 and Season 4 prediction video. Now, I loved Cobra Kai Season 3, and there's one thing I wanted to break out from yesterday's top 5 unanswered questions video, and that is, could Kreese be Tory's grandfather? As always, this is just a theory, so do hear me out fully, and if you enjoyed the video, please do drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video. So what makes me think that this could be a possibility? Well, let's run it back to the start of Kreese's story. We learn that Kreese was a young lad who was bullied heavily, but he stood up to them using his fighting abilities learned from a lifetime of being pushed around. Now, he eventually stole the girlfriend of a jock who was horrible to him and beat the girl. That girl's name? Well, it's Betsy Nichols, of course, sharing a last name with Tory. Shortly after this, Kreese joins the army due to the ongoing war in Vietnam, and he just wanted to prove himself, and this led to him saying goodbye to his girlfriend, Betsy. Of course, Kreese would flourish in the army due to his natural fighting ability and would be in a good environment for the first time in his life, and would no doubt be in a good place to process the trauma of his mother killing herself. Now, this resolve he had led him to run many point missions and take on dangerous positions in the war, putting him in life-threatening situations. Now, eventually he was promoted by his army captain to a special forces group with him and his friends Terry Silver and another lad who was sadly killed. Now, they go on a mission, but just before this, a message is received by the captain for Kreese, which we do not know the contents of, but it was in a red envelope, which a few people have mentioned on my videos that this is just really, really strange. But the captain said how if Kreese knew what was in the contents of this letter, it could risk his life. Now, Terry's radio malfunctions, leading the North Vietnamese soldiers to spot them, leading to their capture. Now, the group are then transported to a POW camp, and the prisoners are forced to fight to the death for the awful guards. Now, the army captain was a martial arts expert, having learnt hand-to-hand combat in the Korean War, and I expect that this is where the nugget of interest in martial arts for Kreese has actually come from. But this captain is pit against Terry Silver, who is a way away from his tough persona we knew in the Karate Kid 3, and is a weakling with no hope of surviving, so Kreese volunteered to fight instead of Terry against the awful captain. It was now that the captain actually revealed the contents of the envelope and letter that was received just before their battle. Now, he said how Kreese's girlfriend was killed in a car crash and they went out on the mission, which I'd imagine that the captain hoped would put Kreese off of his game and allow him to easily kill Kreese to survive the barbaric prisoner of war campaign. This is interesting as this is the tipping point. This is where he started to become a person of no mercy and real tough resolve. Now, this is where my theory starts, as this could be that the captain was simply lying, as we never saw the contents of the letter and Kreese only took the captain's word for it, which could mean that she isn't actually dead, or it could mean that she was pregnant, which would be a really interesting way, as the captain was controlling and would have wanted him to not know the good news. It would take his mind off of that mission. And the fact that she was pregnant, or possibly that she was leaving him, or they had a daughter, I think that there is a big thing here that was not said in that letter. And this would mean that Kreese having a daughter with a Nichols would make Tory his granddaughter. Yes, there is a bit of a jump here, but I think it does make sense. I think during the war he also visited Okinawa and was trained by Sato, leading him to learn some form of Miyagi-Do and eventually returning home, and at some point learning his former flame did have a child. Now, Tory grew up poor, and her mother having a father out of the picture would make a lot of sense here, as Kreese may have no idea which means that he was out of her life for all this time, but I really doubt that he did not know that he had a grandchild, as there were a few clues in my opinion which stuck out. Now, without a husband, Tory's grandmother would have had a hard time raising a single child if he did not know until a bit later, and they would have had the hardship of passing this down to Tory's mother. Now, when we first meet Tory, she joins Cobra Kai and is a strong individual and seemingly comes out of nowhere at all. She has excellent kickboxing training and picked up the training at Cobra Kai very, very quickly. Now, Kreese also took to this very well in the flashbacks, and Tory seems to have inherited some natural skills of fighting. Now, I would be curious to see if that he did know her and she does know as well, and that he kind of arranged it so she learnt some fighting skills early on. However, the part of me that thinks that she doesn't know is that we also saw him in this season take special interest in Tory, which took me by surprise. We know Kreese only likes his students to be strong and show no mercy, and the idea that he went to Tory as he needs a champion doesn't sit well with me, as he didn't visit Miguel and seems to show zero interest in the home life of his other students. The only other person he visits is Johnny, but that's just because he wants to control him. Now, he helps her with the rent situation and put her back on her feet. It's curious as she seems to not know and seems to be surprised, and it's interesting as well that he doesn't really know too much about her situation, but I think he's just playing coy there. She's also the most determined of all the students and the most like Kreese in showing no mercy, especially relentlessly pursuing Samantha throughout the season and of course last season. She's a lot like her possible grandfather. Now, this makes for a great sort of redemption arc if he does find out, or if in my opinion, which is the most likely, he knew but starts to see he's gone too far. I really like the idea of him finding out he is related to her and trying to improve her life from the background. But let me know what you think down in the comments, and let me know what theories you want me to cover next on this channel, as I think tomorrow we might do a video on Saint Maud if I get time. But please do like the video if you enjoyed it, and please do subscribe with notifications on so you never ever miss a video from us, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.